Rappin with ReefBum is sponsored by Polo Reef, Champion Lighting and Supply, and GHL.
Hey, what's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Rappin with ReefBum. I'm your host, Keith Berkelhamer. So on today's live stream, I have the pleasure of welcoming back Tony Vargas to the show. Tony lives in Qatar, where it is right now 2 o'clock in the morning. Wow, Tony, what the hell, man? Thanks for joining.
Oh my God, yes. I had to set my alarm till 1:30 in the morning and not sleep with the wife because I would have woke her up with
You
the
took
alarm.
a nap before the show.
I had to. I was falling asleep at 9.
Well, that's why, part of your the title here I've got in terms of your credentials on the guest title, Reefaholic, right? I mean, you have to be a Reefaholic to do a live stream at 2 o'clock in the morning, your time.
You have to love it in order to really enjoy participating in it.
Absolutely. So let me just so Tony was on about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago. Just to refresh everybody's memory, he started his aquatic adventures at the age of 7 with guppies in a pickle jar. In the early 80s, he assembled his first saltwater aquarium, which was fish only. Moved on to more challenging waters. In the mid-1980s, he experimented with marine invertebrates and corals. In the late 80s, a handful of aquarists, including Tony, were among the first in the U.S. to successfully maintain Acropora alive in captivity. Tony began to share his experiences with others through the many articles he wrote in a column titled Feature Coral for FAMA magazine, Freshwater and Marine Aquarium magazine. One of the Acropora articles in FAMA was acknowledged in Carden Wallace's textbook on Acropora titled Staghorn Corals of the World. Today, Tony scuba dives around the world taking underwater photos and observing reef creatures in their natural environment. In addition to writing about his experiences and observations, Tony travels to give lectures and consultations on coral and fish reef husbandry and aquarium system design. The last time Tony was on, he was just opening up his aquarium shop in Qatar. We'll talk more about that. So we'll see how it's all going a year later. Before we start chatting with Tony, I want to take care of some business and thank the sponsors of this show. My sponsors are really important because they make this show possible with their support, and that means a lot since I want to continue to bring on awesome guests to foster a learning environment on the show. Polo Reef, make sure to check out Polo Reef's new YouTube video that drops this Friday, and the new Polo podcast with the reefing godfather Julian Sprung. They discuss the intricacies in keeping giant clams, live rock bacteria, and microbiomes, as well as a deeper look into some of Julian's products. Make sure to subscribe to their YouTube channel at Polo Reef for video drop notifications. Another sponsor is Champion Lighting and Supply. Besides being a place for hobbyists to purchase saltwater aquarium supplies online, Champion Lighting is also a wholesale distributor for many popular brands. If you own an aquarium store or an aquarium service company, contact Champion Lighting through their website at championlighting.com to set up a wholesale account. My third sponsor is GHL. Personally, I am all in on GHL products. I've used their dosers, Proflux controllers, the Mitras lights, Cage Director, etc. They produce high quality German engineered products. For more information or to purchase their stuff, you can visit aquariumcomputer.com/USA. I also sell their products on reefbum.com. Finally, there's going to be a great opportunity for another sponsor to get on board and support this show starting next month. So, and I do have some great sponsors. So if any other reef keeping businesses out there want to learn more about being a sponsor for this live stream, then let me know. All right, Tony, man. So how's it going with you, man? It's been about a year. How was Qatar treating you?
Oh my God. It's like, well, first, before we get started with there, I want to Thank you, Keith, for providing this kind of forum to our reefing environment, to our community. I really thank you. You bring on some guests with a lot of provocative thoughts and opinions. And this is one way of bringing the hobby to a new high. So really, kudos to you.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that.
You've done a really nice job, and keep doing it because this is amazing. You're like the Johnny Carson of reef keeping.
I never imagined that would be something that, I mean, I've been doing this for like, it'll be, next year will be 5 years in like April. And I'm coming close to the 200th show. Show number 200 is, I think, I'm only like, what show is this? This is show number 186. So getting up there, man. I don't know. I never imagined I'd be going this long, but I'm having a lot of fun doing it, you know?
Well, a suggestion for show number 200, you should have like a party show.
Party show.
So a show where you bring on several guests. So like the screen is lit up with just tabs
interesting.
Of different. Yeah, and it'd be like, you know, the celebration of the 200th show with, you know, 10 reefers.
Maybe I should just invite everybody that's been on the show, and we'll just have like a whole crazy thing going on there. That'd be nuts.
I think that'd be more than 10 reefers, and I can't imagine 10 reefers being in one show together where there aren't 4 to 5 people talking at the same time.
Well, when we did the tribute show for Jake Adams, we had at least I think a dozen people, maybe 13 at one point in time, that were on that tribute show, and so that was great. You know, I mean, that was a had a lot of you know, very passionate conversation about Jake and his legacy with some really incredible reef keepers, and that was just my honor to be a part of that discussion. Just kind of blew me away that I could host something like that. So,
well, so think about your 200th episode being a smorgasbord of all the reefing community coming in on your show live.
Oh,
that would be amazing.
That could be a little dangerous too.
So, I think so. So thank you to you for, you know, providing this for the community. There's a lot of learning. I know when I get the opportunity, I watch it live, but it's very rare for me to be able to get up at this time of night to watch a show live, but I go on YouTube and watch it. And sometimes there've been a few of your shows that I've watched 2 to 3 times just to get some really good content, good information. So thank you to you. And also I want to personally thank your sponsors. You mentioned Champion. As soon as you said Champion, the first words that came to my mind was Perry Tishgard. He was an amazing guy for the industry. As a matter of fact, I think he was the first one that brought reefing equipment to shop owners, you know, at a wholesale price. So if Champion is doing what Perry Tishgard was doing back when, because he was the original owner, right? So he's missed, but Champion is good for the industry.
Oh yeah, Todd is awesome. I mean, Todd is big supporter of this show, and I'm just so psyched to have him on as a sponsor. So all those folks at Champion just really appreciate what they do, and yeah, to help you know, keep the show going. It's just it's a beautiful thing. So I
right, and then your other sponsor, Andrew.
Yeah.
Okay, from Polo Reef. Andrew, I met Andrew back at the MACNA in Miami, and he approached me, and we went, and he showed me some pictures of his aquarium. What an incredible hobbyist. He really is one of these guys that are like all in. And
Yeah.
obviously, right? I saw his tank is featured. It's in the book. Um, I have his old aquarium in my new presentation, and I just started announcing little snippets of the presentation online. That aquarium was amazing, and what he's doing with his current aquarium, right, is inspiring, and he's inspiring a lot of reefers. So kudos to them and GHL. Thank GHL a lot for sponsoring you as well. So kudos to all of that, man. You're going down the right path. You're doing it our community a great service. So thanks to
dude.
you.
I really appreciate that, Tony. Really do. Rob Alexander, thank you so much for that super chat. Very, very cool. And Todd's watching from Champion Lighting and Supplies says, "Thanks for that, Tony!" Exclamation point.
Nah, you're welcome. You guys
All
deserve
right, man.
it,
So
man.
I asked you this question before we went on the show, but I want to ask it in front of everybody here tonight. How's it going in Qatar, man? How you digging Qatar?
I'm loving it. But it's starting to get to me because I've been here now 3 years. We started the shop, like I said, construction up, which means there was no plumbing, no electricity, no wiring, no ventilation system.
You said
nothing.
dirt floor.
We inherited dirt floors and an empty shell. And we created what you saw in the video the last time. So the shop has come along a lot. It's the showcase of Qatar. You come to our shop and we have the latest technology, and I make sure of that. You know, one of the things when Ahmed, who is the Qatari owner, approached me to come to Qatar, you know, I told him, unless we're going to do ultra high technology equipment, I'm not going to go in to build a 1990 pet shop. I'm not going to do it. You know, it would be a waste of time and a disservice to the community. So I brought him over to the U.S. He had a great time. We went all over Florida. We went all over California, looking at reef tanks, looking at wholesale facilities. And I kept telling him, you see, this is what we need to do. You see, this is what we need to do. And I mean, it's even hard to get bulkheads. We order bulkheads from the U.S. to bring them in because, you know, they just don't exist.
Why is that? Why like a plastic bulkhead? Why a PVC bulkhead? Why does that not exist in that country?
Because it's not needed, right? The industry here is industrial, right? They build beautiful, ultra high-tech buildings, right? If you look at Qatar's skyline, is the most modern in the world. But why? Because they focus their industrial on building, you know, everything for FIFA.
Everything for
and
what?
So they bring in a lot of building material, but nothing associated to the aquarium trade.
Gotcha.
So we had to create that industry, right? It wasn't here. So we had to create it. So we bring in a lot of raw goods like the bulkheads. We bring in aluminum because they didn't have aluminum here. So we had to bring it in because there isn't an industry here that you can go, like you can't go to Home Depot here. There is no Home Depot.
Wow, that's right? Hard being you know, a reef keeper without having to like make that emergency run to Home Depot. You know, I mean, I can't imagine not having that kind of, you know, facility.
Put it this way, we did a custom install and the tank was noisy. So there's a PVC, there's a plumbing shop that I go to where they carry metric size and regular size stuff. So like 1 inch and millimeters, right? So I go there to buy my PVC plumbing stuff, and they don't have gate valves. You can't find a PVC gate valve here. So we have to bring it in from the US.
Hmm.
and we get them shipped in, and that's the only way to do it. I wasn't going to fabricate something out of metal,
No,
right? Not in a reef
no.
aquarium. They have gate valves, but they're brass or copper or
Yeah,
iron,
no good.
but they don't have. Yeah, so I wanted a high tech shop, and we got the high tech shop, and it's really um, it's the flagship of all shops here in Qatar. People walk in and they go, "Oh my God," they can't believe it, And we work really hard on establishing great fish, right? We bring in fish, we don't sell them immediately. We let them calm down. We let them start feeding. We let them anticipate when they see us to come to the front of the tank to be fed. Now the fish is ready to be sold,
Is there
right?
any
Now,
meds involved, or is that difficult to do
well,
at your store?
no, no. So all our fish system are therapeutic copper
Okay.
level, right? So we keep copper in the system. It helps with the flukes. Amazing enough, it helps with ick, it helps with velvet. And then every once in a while, we'll get a creature with a bacterial infection. So we have to pull those from there and put them. We just established a quarantine room. So you come into the shop and there's this quarantine room behind this glass window, and you can see all the quarantine
Oh,
tanks
cool.
in there. Yeah, so we just established that, and but we're so I've been busy because the shop is not just we didn't finish. We're still growing the shop, right? But I'm also doing a lot of projects locally. So we do big tanks for rich individuals. We do koi ponds as well, because koi ponds here are not built properly. They're just not. And it's amazing. You go to a koi pond and it's built by a pool guy.
Oh,
A pool,
really?
yeah. They have no idea what they're building, but they're building it because they went online and they saw models.
Mm.
So like they use sand filters, and I'm like, sand filters? That's so 1960s. You know, these koi ponds don't need that anymore. There's special filtrations just designed for koi ponds, and so we get those filtration systems shipped in from Germany, which are amazing, blow away anything that you've ever seen before for koi ponds, and to keep the water clear. The koi fish are growing fast. They need to be air conditioned properly or chilled properly as well. All this stuff. And so you could imagine a koi pond where, it can hit 110, 115
Yeah.
degrees, right? Um, that water gets hot
Yeah.
fast,
So,
you
Tony,
know?
it sounds like you're very well. For a short period of time, you've been very good in terms of establishing yourself there and making a name for your business in that country. How did you do it? Is it like all word of mouth? Is it kind of like having that retail shop as the main showroom set up, and that's kind of been drawing people in, and that's been kind of the linchpin to getting people to start tanks or become customers for you to guys to maintain tanks?
No, not okay. Yes, the we had a grand opening and it was really done very well. But Ahmed is really good with Instagram. So
Social media.
like he has over 14, 15,000 followers. So when he gets his opportunity to post on Instagram, he does it. He does it, and he posts a lot about the products that we use. He posts a lot of the tanks, a lot of the fish. So Instagram is a big tool for us here in the Middle East because we get customers coming from Saudi Arabia, from Bahrain, from Abu Dhabi, from Dubai, from Kuwait.
Hmm.
So you can imagine we got all these countries around us coming to our little shop here in Qatar.
Wow.
And it's all because Ahmed does a great job with Instagram. He really does.
Impressive.
And then also having me and my big mouth, I believe highly in education because the education level was never here before, right? So at the same time, Ahmed is learning everything that I'm spewing out to the customers. He's absorbing all of this, and then he's able to translate everything that I say in Arabic. So we get that Arabic customer coming in because we're both spreading knowledge. You know, one of the biggest things that I see in the shop, and you know what, for a lot, also, even in the US, you hear, I bought a tank, I bought fish, I bought corals, everything died. And why is that? Because a lot of shops see people as a dollar sign. We don't. We see people as an opportunity to grow them in the industry as opposed to sell them. So, for example, you walk in and you see a fish, and you go to one of my girls, "Ooh, I like this fish. How much is it?" And we tell them, "Oh, yes, this is so and so fish. This is how much it is." "Okay, I'll take two of them." The first questions out of my girls' mouths are, "So, what kind of tank do you have? What do you keep? How do you keep it?"
How long have you
Right?
kept it?
If the answers are
Yeah.
wrong, I'm sorry, we can't sell you the fish. Plain and simple. I don't know any other shop that critiques their customers before selling them an
You're
item.
interviewing your customers.
Have
Yeah.
to, because they'll come back and say, "Well, the fish died," and they put it in a tank full of guppies,
You're right.
right? So that's a nightmare right there. And to other establishments, um, all they see is a dollar sign. We don't. We see that we're responsible for the creatures we remove from the ocean and that we have a responsibility towards that creature. And if we don't do the right thing and educate the customers correctly, they're going to fail. And by what I was telling you earlier, that they come in and say everything died is a lack of education because as soon as you say, "So did you cycle your tank?" They're looking at you like a deer in headlights.
What's that?
Like, what's cycling? Well, the water has to mature. So it's an easier way to say water matured than to say, well, you got to go through an ammonia cycle, then you got to go through nitrite, then you got to go through nitrate. We just tell them the water needs to mature. Oh, really? Yeah, because if the water isn't matured, the water becomes toxic to these animals. Oh, really? Yeah, so basically your animals died from ammonia poisoning. And this is one of the things that was lacking. And Ahmed is really big about education. I am about it as well. And look, the proof is in the pudding. We've had several customers now buy small aquariums, like a 425 Red Sea,
Yeah.
right? Pretty much that's like a 60-gallon, probably something like that, or maybe even 50-gallon, 40. So that's a small tank. And all I keep hearing is, "Tony, I want a bigger tank. Tony, I want a bigger tank. Tony, I want a bigger tank." Why? Because we educated them, we put them on the right path to success, and now they're enjoying their aquarium as opposed to, "Oh my God, the headache."
Yeah. Well,
Right?
that's the value of a local fish store is that of obviously I would call you a local fish store, right? An LFS in Qatar, but people
Yes.
I've had other guests on local fish stores, Kenny, Ali, those guys, and what I really what I don't have here in Vermont, but they are around for people is to kind of like local fish store owners or people that work at local fish stores can be a mentor or new hobbyists in the in the hobby. So it's a great resource to be able to have, to be able to hold somebody's hand and to kind of walk them through this cycle. And this is what you should do in terms of once the tank is ready for corals and once the tank is ready for fish. You need stuff like that, and in today's online world, it's easy to kind of like lose sight of that. And I think you get a lot of people in the hobby that seem a little lost, and it's tough, but it's a generational thing too. I think social media is a big influence on how people, who people follow and how they take care of their tanks, and sometimes things get lost in the in that translation. But I always feel like the local fish store, the value of a local fish store, a good local fish store, is huge. I mean, it's
Yeah, but look, Keith, you just said it, a good local fish store. And unfortunately, we have
there's not some not
both,
good fish stores.
right?
Yeah.
We have the fish store that all they care is about their bottom line. And, I told them that, don't worry about the bottom line, because the bottom line will find itself with great word of mouth. When the hobbyist comes in and says, hey, I want a bigger aquarium, you succeeded.
Yeah.
Because if he failed, you don't hear from him. You won't hear from them. So don't look at them as a dollar sign. Look at them as a potential ongoing customer, right? Because at the same time, they're going to need consumables, right? So they need the carbon, they need the filter floss, they need, the chemicals, they need all these things, right? We try to set them on the right path. I know there's a lot of shops that do that. I know that a lot of shops also like to quarantine. It's when you see a shop that cares and it's not about the bottom line, they're successful. And if they're not, they're on their way to being successful. It takes time.
No, listen, I think it's profits can kind of like get in the way, in the sense of running a business and always kind of keeping the bottom line in mind. But sometimes there is a cost of doing business, and you got to just kind of suck it up and not try to monetize the first potential sale that you can get from a customer. And you got to just nurture that customer and do the right thing, be a mentor, and that the stuff, the monetary stuff, will come down the line. You just I truly believe that. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. So, what we do is we educate. I'm a big proponent of live rock. So we sell a lot of live rock here because, to be honest with you, having dry rock with a bottle of bacteria, and then you read the bottle and it says this bacteria, or the bacteria in this bottle works for both salt water and fresh water. And through osmosis regulation, that's impossible. What lives in salt water does not live in fresh water. And the bacteria that you're trying to build for a reef aquarium is so different. And where do you get that great bacteria from? But it's from the live rock.
Where are you guys getting your live rock from?
We get it from Indonesia and Australia.
And in U.S. dollars, what is the cost per pound these days for that rock?
I don't know. I really have no idea what it is in the U.S. I know that here we charge 195 Qatar Rials.
Wow, that sounds expensive, man.
It sounds expensive, but 190, or put it this way, $1 is equivalent to 3.65 Qatar Rials.
Okay. Yeah, break out my calculator.
Right. So when you look at for example, we sell this beautiful African tilefish, which everyone around the world sells. Now, if you look at how much they sell that African tilefish in the U.S., the average cost is about is about $1,200 for this tile fish. Meanwhile, we sell it for under $300 here in Qatar.
Wow.
So, you know, when I say 900 rials or 1,100 rials for that fish, it's equivalent to about $300.
Gotcha. Well,
So,
go ahead.
so we sell the rock for 195 rials for 1 kg, which is basically 2.2 pounds.
Sturgis Reef
And
is saying 195 reals is $53.
yeah, so see, it doesn't sound like a lot. Meanwhile, 1 kg is 2.2 pounds.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So we sell it for 195 per kg.
Okay. Listen, I drink that Kool-Aid. You know, I'm a big live rock person, so I think it's worth paying the premium. I really do.
Well, you know, it's easy to sell both, right? Because as long as we educate the customer and inform them, if you want to go down the dry rock path, we can do that. However, your tank is going to take much longer to cycle. Right. So if you're patient and don't say 30 days later, I want fish in here, and you know, I want to turn the lights on and not have this algae bloom of cyanobacteria, dinoflagellants. I mean, you know, it's your call. And you have the decision. You can make the decision, right? Yes. Is it cheaper? Yes. Are there less pests? Yes. But are you getting the proper bacteria needed to sustain these animals? I wish I had the opportunity earlier to send you some articles that I keep, because in volume 3 of the Coral Reef Aquarium, I'm going to have a big discussion about the bacteria that live on rocks with corals that help sustain those corals, that protect them from high nitrate levels, how these bacteria consume all of this, how some of these bacteria also help with water getting too warm, and how these bacteria help the corals. Where are you going to get that bacteria? Not from a bottle, but you're going to get it from live rock. So when you bring in the live rock, can you get aptasia? Yeah. Are there ways around aptasias? Yes. We found solutions for this. So having natural live rock is the beneficial and is the quickest way to a nice reef.
I always think that you're going to bring in most of the pests that you would bring in with the live rock. You would bring it in with dry rock as well, because if you bring in corals that are attached to a little piece of rock or something, they find a way. You know, aptasia always finds a way to get into a tank. I don't care if you start with dry rock only. It's just a matter of time before you're going to get aptasia. And I mean, yeah, there are certain pests that you're going to get with live rock, like mantis shrimp and bristle worms and all that stuff. But you can catch the mantis shrimp and the bristle worms. I'm not convinced are harmful to a reef tank. But yeah, listen, I think the only thing that I mean, how has your philosophy changed in terms of aquascaping over the years? You know, I mean, when we first kind of like got into this reef keeping hobby back way back when, I mean, you know, I mentioned in your bio about you were one of the first to kind of try to figure out how to keep SPS and all that stuff. And back then, I think the philosophy was 2 pounds of rock per gallon of water, and that was a lot of rock, you know, for a display tank. And personally, you know, I did start doing that, you know, that much rock in a reef tank, but I've throttled it back big time, and probably now I'm doing like less than a pound per gallon, trying to be more minimal with the aquascapes. What have you found yourself doing, Tony, over the years? You know, if you're sticking with live rock, are you trying to have more open aquascapes? Do you find it still beneficial to use as much live rock as you can in the display tank?
No, 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 no. Okay. When I sit down with a customer and have a discussion about what kind of aquascape they want, I don't know if you saw my post recently of a customer came into the shop with a picture of a sculptured aquascape. So pretty much it was a nice base with these like two horns, right? And the only way you can get that aquascape is to put these things
Yeah.
together. And most people do it with dry rock. I went ahead and the customer came in and showed me a picture, and it was pretty much like a little shelf and then this long horn, right, established. And I said to him, yeah, we could do that,
With
and he
live
goes,
rock.
really? You can do it? And I said, yeah. And I went to my live rock bin, and Ahmed is sitting there, and he's looking at me, and he's like, what are you doing? And I said, and I started pulling rock, and I go, no, this is gonna work. This is gonna. And I kept sorting the rock until I found all the pieces that I needed. And we sculptured what he wanted in front of him with live rock. And all we used was the blue marine. We have this little jar of blue marine glue, and then we also have the two little fishies glue, which I like a lot because it's thick,
Yeah.
right? And right in front of the guy, I said, "Get me some cable ties. Do this, do." And we started putting it together. And wherever we put the glue, we put sand, and we sculpted right in front of him. And he was like, I can't believe this. And so I put it together with live rock. I dried the sections that we wanted. I glued it. And then I went to the next piece and I cable tied this. And then went to the next piece and I cable tied that. And went to the next piece. And before I knew it, we had the whole thing sculptured. And then we just put it back in the live rock vat and let it sit there for a couple of days. And we went, I wish I would have known this. We delivered it to the guy. And, so now I have this thing and I'm telling everyone in the shop, please be careful around this rock, right? I didn't want it hit. I didn't want it damaged. It took us a long time. It took us 3 hours one day and another 2 hours the next day to finish the sculpture. And we put it together. So we were very careful. And then I'm thinking, oh my God, how are we going to get it to the guy on these bumpy roads? If we hit a bump, is it going to
fall apart?
With the pressure. So sure enough, it was sturdy enough that it got there in one piece. It was 16 pieces of live rock created this one piece. And
it's all just cable.
You know what? I'll send you the
cable
video,
ties. That's it.
And if you could attach it, huh?
Yeah. So this was all cable tied. No, nothing else.
No, just two little fishies, glue, blue marine glue, sand, cable ties, and it was a base with a little shelf and then a long horn. We put it in the guy's tank. And he comes back to me and sends me a video. And he says, my wife doesn't want anything else put in the tank. It looks like a work of art. So in his case, he's got 16 pieces of live rock, which equated to like 22 kg. And I'm going to suggest a few more pieces of live rock in his sump in a cryptic zone, because I do believe in a cryptic zone. Eventually, sponges will grow out of these rocks. You just have to give it time. So I don't believe in the abundance of that live rock wall, but in some cases, if that's what the customer wants, we'll get it to them, right? Can it be too much? Yes. Can it be advantageous to the tank? Yes, because the more surface area you have, right? Especially remember that live rock forms denitrification. Dry rock cannot do that.
Right.
Only live rock can do that. Eventually, dry rock can do denitrification, but it takes a long time to get there. Whereas dry rock can give you that. So the more live rock you have, the more denitrification you're going to have, the more surface areas for bacteria, right? Because we keep scrubbing off the bacteria that are on our glass. When we vacuum the sand, we remove a lot of bacteria as well. So in a stable reef environment where there's live rock, you've got a lot of bacteria. This bacteria is beneficial to all the animals in the aquarium. Remember, you have, if you have a lot of fish, you need an ample amount of bacteria that's going to suck up all the ammonia being created by those animals, which will lead us to the conversation about ammonia dosing later.
Todd from Champion Lighting says Tony needs some CTAC for his rockscapes. You know that stuff, that CTAC? It's a relatively new product that well, maybe not relatively new, but it's a Todd, you're gonna have to chime in on the chat what that stuff is. What it's made out of.
So what does it consist of, and how does it work?
Yeah, I think it's got something to do with mussels.
Mussels.
I might be way up.
Like human mussels, or the mussels that you
eat? Mussels you eat. Something. I might be way off on that. ACI, Chris Meckley. Real live rock might be expensive, but dry rock will cost you time and way more money in the long run. Yeah, it will. What do you? I mean, you know, it's interesting you said that, Tony. I want to kind of pick up on what you said there in terms of when you're cleaning the glass and scrubbing this and all that stuff. You're taking bacteria off the surfaces. What about people that have algae issues and cyano and they're taking rocks out and they're scrubbing all the hair algae off their rocks, or bryopsis and stuff like that, and you kind of got a clean slate with that whatever it is, dry rock or live rock, but you're really resetting your tank because you're removing all those bacteria, and something is gonna you're basically asking for another ugly phase, correct?
Absolutely, because remember, at the end of the day, that's one of the other things that we focused a lot about education here, right? Having your aquarium properly cycle is the key component to success. And I can't harp on this enough. To be honest with you, look, I've had people come up to me and say, well, I can't wait 90 days. And I'm like, then deal with all the headaches that come along with it. Look, and I have a giant big display tank in my shop that's a prime example of not waiting. So during the grand opening, or before the grand opening, we set up this beautiful 800-gallon reef aquarium. And for the show, that aquarium was unbelievable. But what happened? I sacrificed my own principles to get this tank up and running. My principles are really wait the 90 days, don't turn the lights on, don't turn on your protein skimmer, just let the system build up the copepods, the amphipods, the bacteria, because those key components are going to be the ones to remove the waste when it starts to be produced. Yep. So without them, you're going to have issues like the cyanobacteria, like the algae. So what happened? We set up this 800-gallon tank. Absolutely gorgeous. Everyone that came in said, this is what I want for my house. This is what I want for my house. But I sacrificed the 90-day rule. And what happened? The tank went through an ugly phase. And it's still going through the ugly phase. Why? Because I didn't wait. I threw in a bunch of animals. I threw in a bunch of corals. I put in live rock that I cycled in a bin, but really wasn't cycled. And now I have an ugly face. But meanwhile, the smaller tanks that we have, we weighted properly. And those little tanks are great display tanks in our shop, right? So when people come in, we show them this, and then I show them the big tank, which is a nightmare, because I didn't wait the appropriate amount of time. So I broke my principle. I showed everyone, look, if you want it like this, this is what's going to happen. And this will last for months.
Frustrating.
Because I didn't wait. This is what happens when you wait.
Yeah.
So which one do you want?
I was right about the SeaTac. I'm on their website. It's an adhesive designed to enable scaling of groundbreaking solution. It's inspired by the chemistry of mussel adhesive to create a long-lasting, non-toxic, when fully cured, easy-to-use bonding agent. The revolutionary underwater glue is the perfect choice for even the most challenging underwater projects. The SeaTac development was funded by NOAA for reef restoration, and is I'm doing like an ad for them right here, but
Well, wait a second. I remember reading something about this, and even Andrew was looking for it, because I think the company that made it like disappeared, and then they reappeared again.
I don't know the
I think
history.
they lost funding or something.
I don't know the history of it.
Yeah, I think I remember reading something about it. Well, listen, tell Todd to send me some, and then we will play with it in the shop, and then make a big deal about it. Because I'll be honest with you, one of the things that I'm enjoying about the shop is my opportunity to test equipment. Like, I went to Enerzoo, and I met several manufacturers, and they all want to send me equipment so I can test, and I can do some R&D work for them. And it's amazing, because if anyone has the ability to test a lot of different equipment on a lot of different scales, I have it, because I have all these tanks in the shop. I have a fish system, which again is going to lead us to the ammonia thing that I want to discuss. But it gives me the opportunity to test all these equipments, all these products, and tell Todd to send me one or two of those, so that way I can play with it in the shop. And if it's advantageous, we'll all hear about it.
Todd is saying it contains PCS. It's the chemical bond that oysters and mussels use on their pads of the bissus threads to attach to the rock. Okay. It is what it is. Are you still doing bottled bacteria? So I think the question is. So I guess the question is: Are you using any bottled bacteria, Tony, for the cycling process of tanks, or are you just advocating the natural live rock cycling process?
Yes, we advocate the live rock naturally. Listen. My issue with the bacteria is when you read on the bottle and it says, will work in salt water and fresh water. We know through osmosis regulation that it can't be. It can't be. And the bacteria that comes on live rock is coming. Now, bear in mind, there's a lot of different bacteria that live on a coral. The coral dies, it becomes this live rock. It contains a lot or most of that bacteria on that live rock. That live rock also has denitrification properties. I can't get that from a bottle. No one can. Now, does it work? Yes, but people use it. And again, if you want to wait 6 months, and I'm hearing horror stories, and if you go online, you see it everywhere. Some people are taking a year to cycle their tanks, and they're using these bottled bacteria.
What?
I believe in the natural way of doing
What about Tony, utilizing bottled bacteria on a mature reef tank? Is there any use?
Why would I want to spike my ammonia? Why would I want to spike my nitrites? Why would I want to spike anything? A natural reef aquarium without any of this witch's brew
Any additives?
is the key component. It really is. You know, snake oil. That's what I consider it. So I don't advocate it. Do I sell it? Yes, because they're customers that want it. And if they want it, okay, you can buy it. Doesn't mean that I'm going to prevent myself from selling it, because if the customer wants it and they feel they need it and it's therapeutic to them, then yes. And there are some, there's this bacteria that we use by Mercolith, and I use it on my fish systems, and I noticed that it really helps my fish system quite a bit. But remember, that's a fish system, right? I have copper in them, and we treat the fish system differently from a reef system. So I'm willing to put that in my fish system.
What about the use case for bottle bacteria for a mature tank to help keep nitrates and phosphates in check as a nutrient controlled device? What are your thoughts on that?
Oh my God! Look, you just hit. It's interesting. There are 2 tanks in our shop that we add nitrate and phosphates to because the corals and the animals that are living in those systems are sucking up all the nutrients. Yeah. I'm about to do a video on my economical reef. That tank started off with tiny little frags that I got from Colin and from Julian, right? Some of them are way back from 20 years ago that I shared with Colin. Wow. So I wound up getting frags from Colin that I had of my
That's so
corals.
Cool.
Oh yeah, it's you know, and the Vargas spicularia is one of them. When I discovered the Vargas spicularia, I shared it with ORA and with ORA, Colin, and also Joe Aiulo. So I shared with those guys, and Colin was 20 years later, he still had Vargas Acropora, Vargas spicularia. So I wound up bringing a frag of that. I wound up bringing other frags, and they all started very tiny, small little things. And you know that little tank, which I call the economical reef, has established itself so well that I have to introduce nitrates and phosphates. So if you let your tank mature properly, grow corals, they're going to suck up all that nutrients for you. And it's like right now, this thing about the ammonia dosing. We're going to jump right into it.
Yes, you have some thoughts on ammonia dosing.
I started hearing a lot about it. Now, I have the ability to test that theory in the shop. And in the reef aquariums that are loaded with corals, the evidence is that the bicarbonate is helping the corals grow, not the ammonia. So I had a discussion with Julian. I called Julian and I said, Julian, listen, I think this is wrong. And he goes, no, Tony, there's science behind it. And yes, there is some. And I said to him, no, I disagree. And he goes, okay, it's up to you. You can disagree all you want. And I said, I'll tell you why I disagree. And I didn't tell him. You know why? Because I tested that theory on a fish system. Now, my fish system carries a 0.03 ammonia level 24/7, all day, all the time. This aquarium is a 2-meter long aquarium with fish, who are pooping and eating all day
Yeah.
long. Fish that I can't put in a reef system, right? So we carry those beautiful fish as well. I ammonia dose that tank, and my ammonia level all the time, every time, stayed at 0.03. You know why? Because the bacteria that's in that aquarium sucks it up. So if you're dosing ammonia into a well-populated reef aquarium, the bacteria is sucking it up.
How do you know what the limit is, though, in terms of crossing that line, in terms of them not being able to suck up what you're putting in?
Okay, so I went based on the recommendation that was presented to me through Mike Pauletta's article. So I took his recommendation. I brought it down from, he's dosing that recommendation on an 800-gallon system. This is a 300-gallon system. So I brought the levels down to that. And I even overdosed it just a tiny little bit, just to see. And my ammonia numbers did not change. And why? Because the bacteria that's in that aquarium was sucking up all the ammonia. So that led me to believe that I can even add more fish to that system and not sacrifice the animals that are in it. Because if you want ammonia in your tank, put more fish. Put more fish. The fish, when they breathe, they expel ammonia, and they also provide it through their urine. So there's your ammonia. You want more ammonia instead of putting in ammonium bicarbonate? Put in more fish. Not only will the fish provide more ammonia, which will help your bacteria, will also provide poop, which the corals will absorb.
Is that tougher to kind of figure out what that level of ammonia would be by adding extra fish versus more precision dosing? You know, I mean, I guess you would have to be monitoring your ammonia levels in that tank to figure that out.
Right, but why? Why? I did not see any significant difference in my corals' growth and color by adding ammonium bicarbonate. It did not do anything.
So you were dosing,
doesn't help your corals grow. So why should I put in more bicarbonate when I can add more bicarbonate through the dosing system? Right? I'm adding the two-part. The two little fish is two-part. One is calcium, one is bicarbonate. So I can add a little bit more bicarbonate and get the same results that ammonium bicarbonate is providing my tank. And really, how much is the coral absorbing of the ammonia? When I prove that that dosage didn't change anything in my fish system, that the ammonia didn't rise. The ammonia has maintained 0.03 in that tank 24/7 since it finished cycling.
Rob, upstate New York, thank you so much, man, for that very generous super chat. Great chat. Thank you, Tony, for your 3 a.m. participation. You're a champ, dude. I'll tell you, man. That's like, you're a rock star here at 3 o'clock in the morning.
You know, listen,
you all right? Keep going, or you want to tap out? You all right to keep going, or you want to tap out?
You got me all excited over here because I've been dying to talk to because look, let's be honest. I have the ability to test these things because everybody is saying, oh, well, you know, in my reef tank, oh, wow, that's working so great. Put it in a fish tank and see if the ammonia grows or it doesn't grow. So I have the ability to put it in a fish system as well as in a coral system. I didn't see any difference in a coral system, right? Unless I just add a little bit more bicarbonate or put the ammonia in there. But again, The fish is going to provide all of that. I would rather see beautiful, colorful fish swimming around in a reef tank if I want to add more ammonia than putting in ammonium bicarbonate. And what happens if the dosing pump goes bad?
In terms of overdosing
And
the
the
ammonia?
spews-
Yeah.
yeah. What happens
Yeah,
then?
so risk. There's a risk.
There is a risk.
What about the, I know Mike had talked about, in terms of corals with ammonia versus nitrate dosing, and that ammonia, I think it's only one reaction, whereas in the nitrate dosing, there's, corals are going through two different reactions to take in the nitrate.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, and that's the discussion that Julian was telling me, that's the science. Right. There's a science that the corals will absorb easier the ammonia than they do the nitrate, right? And that's fine. I get that. But I can get the ammonia more naturally through fish than I can through dosing it. So if there is a property of absorbing the ammonia, so then I have two things that are going on in my reef tank, right? I have the coral sucking up the ammonia, and I also have the bacteria sucking up the ammonia, which I proved that the bacteria is doing it in my fish system. I'll add more fish. I'm at a cautious level of protecting my tank from overdosing the ammonia, right? So I prevent that from happening. I don't lose any fish, but I didn't lose any fish in my fish system from dosing the ammonia, and it all got absorbed. Why? Because of the bacteria that was in there. So can the corals do it? Yes, there's science behind it. But is it necessary? Just put the fish in, man.
This is interesting. I had Leng Sai on last week, and you guys are very similar in your philosophies. It's like, just let nature take its course, man. Let nature do its thing, and stop adding a whole bunch of stuff to the reef tanks, and just practice good husbandry, be patient, and just the more you put in the tank, the more you're going to over fertilize it, I think, is what I keep hearing.
Okay. Right. And you know what? Look, he's right. Think about, I started this hobby back in the 1980s, and then reefing in the late 80s. How many chemical companies have come and gone? How many? This is going to change everything. Technologies that have come and gone. How many? So we will always go through this. Right now, it's about ammonia dosing. I guarantee you 2 years from now, nobody's even going to be talking about it because there's going to be something else. And there's always going to be something else. Think about the popularity of corals. At one time, you couldn't buy an 8-can for less than $1,000.
Really?
Now, think about it. Now, they're abundant, right? You couldn't buy zoanthids for, look at the bounce mushrooms.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. Never got into those.
Right. And the gonoporas and the this and the that. Our styles, our things change continuously. But you know what stays the same? The basics, the fundamentals.
Always go back to the fundamentals.
The fundamentals are the solid background to this industry. And we just keep going back to it. How many times in the last 5 years have you heard, oh, what's old is new again? No. It's not that it's new again. It's that it's always been here, and certain hobbyists have learned how to maintain it. When I heard, oh, Kalkwasser is the new, no. I've been using Kalkwasser since Julian introduced me to it back in the early 90s. There isn't a reef tank in our shop that doesn't get Kalkwasser. And it always has been used. The fundamentals of live rock is the best backbone to a great reef aquarium.
You can't go wrong with live rock. You can't go wrong with kalkwasser. Middle halides. You can't go wrong with middle halides. And I know that's going to. We're touching on another topic you want to talk about in terms of middle halides and phosphates. But
well, listen, you had Chris on, and Chris said
Wood from
that
Captivate. You're talking about aquaculture. Yeah.
Yes, he said, I got this free rock from this customer, and we put it outside and we let it dry. And it was beautiful live rock. And then eventually we decided to use the rock. And we used the rock. And now I'm quoting Chris, right? We used the rock on this tank, and the bacteria was absolutely, the cyanobacteria was beyond belief. Incredible, incredible, incredible. And then we switched the system into metal halides. And, you know, but the cyanobacteria disappeared. And he didn't go on to that. And I'm watching you interview him, and I'm going, come on, man. Come on, keep talking about it. There's the subject right there. The subject was that when he switched over to metal halides, there's a spectrum that allows these tanks to mature easier and better than they do with the LED. It seems like, and I noticed this, it happens a lot. With LED lights, we get a lot of cyanobacteria, but the only way to compete against it is by having an overpopulated aquarium that is sucking up all the nutrients and preventing all these nasties from existing. You ever notice you put a tank together and it gets loaded with corals, and like my economical reef, algae does not grow on the glass. Zero algae grows on that glass. We clean the glass like every 2 weeks. And why? Because it develops a white film. What's the white film? Bacteria. We brush off the bacteria from the glass because the corals are sucking up all the nutrients. I think there is something. I can't pinpoint it myself. I'm not a scientist. But I think if the scientists sat back and analyzed LED lights and their spectrums in comparison to a metal halide, they find that the metal halide is allowing these tanks to cycle, and the cyanobacteria is less of an issue with those kind of tanks than they are with the LED lights.
I know
for some reason.
Beckley is a believer in that there is a difference in terms of tanks with metal halides. That is the best lighting for corals.
And I'm thinking about doing the 800. I'm thinking about removing the LED lamps and putting in some metal halides. I'm really seriously thinking about it. The only issue is, is the heat. We've grown accustomed to these LED lights being, no heat sinks in them or not producing a lot of heat. And you know that with the metal halides, you're going to get it.
So I know in our conversations leading up to this chat, Tony, you mentioned a new light fixture that you were testing out, and you actually sunk it underneath the water. Can you share that? What's that?
Okay, so I have a YouTube video coming out soon about this lamp.
Did I blow something there? Did I blow it for you?
Yeah, you did. But it's okay. We'll talk about it.
Damn it.
So while I was at Interzoo, I met the representatives of GNC Light. GNC is not the supplement company, right? It's a manufacturing lamp company from Italy. All their components, their designs, and their parts are all from Italy. And so I met them there. They told me about their lights. And just like every other LED manufacturer, they're telling me this, telling me that. It becomes, I don't know. Like to me, it's like, okay, yeah. You have an LED light. There's hundreds of them now.
Yep.
Right. So he says, I'll get you 2 of the lamps. I said, okay, fine. And again, if anyone has the ability, it's me that I can test it on all these different tanks that I have in the shop. So he sends me the light, and you know, I'm working on the YouTube video because I do the production, I do the editing, I do obviously the narrating, everything, all the special effects. I do that all myself.
And what's the
right? I
YouTube
don't
channel,
have
Tony?
Vargas Reef. So it takes me a little bit longer than everybody else because everybody else has a technician that will do all this artwork and everything for them. I do it all myself, right? So it takes me a little bit longer, but I had the opportunity of getting the light. But before I got it, I spoke with Julian and I said, Julian, listen, in your opinion, what's going on with this light? So Julian says, I have it above my tank at home. I've got 3 of the fixtures. And he goes, the corals are loving it. He goes, it's a little more blue than your average LED light, but the corals, there seems to be this bridge that blue light will give you color and white light will give you growth. So you have to find that blend in the middle. Well, it seems like that blend in the middle, this manufacturer figured it out. So Julian said, my corals are growing really well. It's a bluer light than the others. And I said, okay. So Henry from GNC sends me 2 of these lamps. One is called the XM, and the other one is, the XM is the smaller, and the X is the flagship. And I do my research. I went in and I researched everything that they said, everything, right? So I said to Henry, it seems that you have a certification of an IP67. Is this correct? And he says, yes, Tony. And I said, dude, please find out if IP67 is correct. Because I'm not going to tell my audience that this is IP67 certified, and it's not. I want, if I say something, I want it to be law, not theoretical. So he comes back, he goes, no, it's IP67. And I said to him, okay, I'm going to do something. And he goes, please don't tell me, I don't want to know. And I said, okay, no problem. So IP67 means that it's certified to be underwater up to 1 meter for about 3 hours. So the whole point of it was to prevent dust and other things to get inside of it. But if you go to IP67, it's to be submerged underwater. So now, when I met him, I said, I love the idea of your light because it doesn't have a fan. I detest now LED lamps with, and there's several that don't have fans, okay? So, but fans make noise. I've installed lamps with fans, and I hear from the customer, dude, I can't even go in that room because all I hear is the stupid fan. And I go into their home and I go, what noise? He goes, no, sit there for 15 minutes, you'll hear it. And I said, dude, I don't hear nothing. And he goes, you watch. And sure enough, you hear the humming. And it's a stupid fan. And I called the manufacturer and I told him, dude, I just installed this and he's having issues with it. And the manufacturer says, oh, just swap it out. And I'm like, no, you should make good on this. No, Tony, just swap it out. And I said, okay, now I know where you stand as a manufacturer. Fine, no problem. So when I met GNC, I told them, oh my God, it's fanless. It has a beautiful heat sink on the top. So it's really nice. So back to IP67. I said, okay, I'm going to test it. So in the video, everybody now knows, I demonstrate me holding the lamp, filling up a sink with water. The lamp is on. You can see the lights blinking, and I submerge it.
And it
and then I flip it upside down, right? I flip it so that way you can see the lights are on, it's been submerged. I take my hands out, I put my hands back in. I'm not electrocuted.
that's a good thing.
So the 67, IP67 does work. And I was so impressed. And then finally I got a chance to use the light. And the first thing my customers were saying, oh my God, Tony, no shadowing. And they go, and this blue light is beautiful. And the lamp itself is reminiscent of T5s.
Really?
Remember the look of a T5
Yeah.
aquarium?
Yeah. Great look.
This is what that lamp looks like, a T5 aquarium. I was like, holy cow, this is really pretty.
Reefkeeper, I'm running a couple of GNC Blu-ray on my frag tank, and I love them. And Reefkeeper also says the Phillips coral care can be submerged. Ask me how I know, laugh out loud. Dropped one in the tank, rinsed it off, good as new. And then Chris from ACI is saying that they actually take them down and hose them off and put them back up and turn them on, dripping. Is that true there, Chris?
So, you know, to look at this, right? Okay, remember one thing about a LED lamp with a fan. I posted a short clip video showing the mist of the aquarium coming up and heading towards the light. And that little mist is salt water that's going up into the lamp. And if you have a fan, all that mist is finding its way into the components of your LED system. Also, dust. And then the fact that a fan only operates because of the oil applied to it to spin. And once that oil in the motor starts to evaporate, the fan starts to go. If the fan goes out and you're away for the weekend, you just burned out.
Yeah, you're screwed.
You're screwed, right? So I learned a valuable lesson that these lights with these heat sinks may look a little bit industrial, but they do serve a purpose. And the one from GNC, they have this bridge. And the bridge is so Italian that it's really, really just amazing.
Check it out.
Yeah, you have to check it out because it's made of acrylic. And then it has the aluminum strip in the center where you hang the fixture from. But the architecture of their design of that bridge in acrylic is just, so I put the X on a Nios. Now the Nios aquarium is an elegant aquarium. It's the cabinet is beautiful. The lines of the tank is beautiful. It has an overflow box that's on the outside, not on the inside of the tank. The plumbing is purple. So it looks amazing. And then I put this Italian fixture on it with this bridge. And it's a showstopper now because it looks so elegant with the bridge than the hanging kit. But I did submerge it. It does work. It's a very interesting lamp.
So, Tony, man, I don't want to hold you much longer because right now it is 3:22 in Qatar. But
I'm hyped up. I'm over here.
I want to talk to you about two more things and then let you go. One is the coral farm that you just got permitting for, right? And then I also want to talk to you about what's going on with the Coral Reef Aquarium Volume 3. Plans for that. Start with the farm first.
So, okay. So it turns out that we are working on getting some grant money to create a coral farm, and the coral farm will produce over 30,000 frags within the facility. So that's how, and I'm really happy that Blue Marine is going down the path of a smaller footprint, right? A carbon footprint. Because once we start, obviously we're going to import the corals. We're going to sustain them. We're going to frag them. But we're going to have this beautiful coral farm that we'll be able to do over 30,000 pieces of corals at any given time. And I'm really happy because remember what I told you. Since I've landed here 3 years ago, I haven't taken vacation. I'll go away for a weekend, right? Like most people will do. They'll go away for a weekend or a 3-day weekend. And I've done that because, book signings and everything else that I have to do. But I haven't taken a vacation. And in Qatar, you're entitled from 22 to 45 days vacation a year. I haven't taken any of that because projects keep coming. And now I just landed a project where we're going to do this coral farm, and it's going to be just amazing to be able to do it. And it's I'm happy about it, but it's another big project.
Sounds huge.
So I've got tanks being built, I've got aluminum stands to build, I've got all this equipment that I have to source. And I will also like to reach out to GHL because I need to put a monitoring system. It's going to be like 8 different systems. And I want to be able to monitor those 8 different systems remotely as well as there on one PC. Because, with a coral farm, you just can't go wrong. You can't do anything wrong. If you do anything wrong, you lose a lot.
The stakes are high.
So I want to reach out to GHL because who else can provide a monitoring system that will allow me to know at an instant what's going on. I want to make sure that the flow from the return pumps are proper. I want to make sure that the chemistry balance in the aquariums are right. So this is a big project, and I'm really excited about it.
Who will you be supplying corals to? Are you going to be like a wholesaler type of operation? Is it going to be hobbyists, or what's the deal?
No. Well, okay. We will obviously, Blue Marine will supply coral frags to Blue Marine, right?
Explain to people who Blue Marine is.
Okay, so Blue Marine is our shop in Qatar. It's owned by Ahmed Amir, his partner within the business, and we always keep trying to find new ways to innovate things, to do different than anybody else. So basically, what we're going to do is we're going to grow corals and supply the whole Middle East, because providing corals to Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, Bahrain, Dubai is going to be easy. Saudi Arabia, which is our border. Right now, we have hobbyists coming from those locations. They drive to our place.
How long of a drive is that?
It depends where they're coming from. If they're coming from Kuwait, it's pretty far. I know Bahrain, the guy was telling me it was like 4 hours. Dubai is probably like 6 hours. But they come. Some of them fly in, right? And they'll buy a coral and take it with them. So we're going to provide the Middle East, and once we get our CITES and everything else organized, we'll ship to Europe. If they need our corals, we'll ship it to them as well.
And this is going to be a aquaculture operation. So you're going to be importing
Yes.
corals, and no.
Okay. So initially, we're going to import corals and grow them and frag them within the
Right.
farm, right? And then we're going to try to stay away from importing and just growing the corals, unless something new and exciting pops up. We'll go get it and grow it in the farm as well. Because, you know, like I mentioned before, when you look at our hobby, we are acanth phase, we are Ganapora phase, we are bounce mushroom phase, we are this phase, that phase. We go through phases that a certain coral that had no value 5 years ago is super valuable today.
Changes.
Then 5 years from now, that coral's no longer any value. You understand? So we're going to focus on growing everything, but also stay trendy with the markets.
Makes sense. All right. The last thing I wanted to ask you, Tony, man, is the Coral Reef Aquarium. What's up with Volume 3? What are the plans? Can you any insight on that?
Okay, so Volume 3, I already have the concept in my head, is going to be different than Volume 1 and 2. And I am starting, but because of the structure of the Coral Reef Aquarium, there will be, like, if you look at Volume 1, there were more tanks from around the world than in Volume 2. Now, the reason for that, because Volume 2, I expanded with a fish identification section and a coral identification section, but small. So I decided, and so reef tanks from around the world was less than in Volume 1. So in Volume 3, I will still have reef from around the world, but it'll be even less. So the tanks that are going into Volume 3 are going to be like the top-notch aquariums from around the world. However, there's a concept of what I'm going to do with the rest of the book. I'm not going to divulge that right now, but I already started getting tanks for the around the world, which are really like mind-blowing tanks. I mean, it's just like, wow. So those are going in, and like I mentioned before, I screwed up with Volume 2, right? You were supposed to be in Volume 2, and I screwed up because I don't know
Dude,
how.
I was just happy to be in Volume 1, you know, so I think that was awesome. I don't need any more.
Yeah, but your tank did merit being in Volume 2 again, because it wasn't the same tank anymore, right? It was a different tank. It was a different setup. So your tank did deserve to be in there. You sent me the information. I don't know how I lost it. And then, you know what? After you and I talked, I found it.
Oh, really?
And I was like, oh, how did this get away from me? How did that happen? But anyway, so rest assured, you're finding pages in Volume 3. So you got an opportunity now, because you're doing something that I really like, that you took your cryptic zone rock, the Haitian rock, which, by the way, when I was in Florida, that was a rock.
Pretty cool rock,
that
man.
Haitian rock.
The shapes are
it's
amazing stuff.
Yes, absolutely freaking amazing stuff. So you've designed a new system, which now you have the opportunity to grow it, because remember, I start putting this stuff together, but it takes time to do everything else. And you can ask Julian. I do everything in the book. You know, when I first did volume 1, I was approached by another publisher to do volume 1 with him. But he didn't give me any freedom to do what I wanted. He said, just give me the text and give me the images. I take care of everything else. So I had no say in the design and the structure of that book. You can go to Julian and ask him, how much design aspect did Tony have in the book? And he'll tell you all of it. Because I reached out, when Julian said I would publish the book, I said, So I had these two guys that I can publish the book. One, I had no say. The other one kept saying, it's your book, Tony. You do whatever you want. And I was like,
that's an easy choice.
I like that. Yeah, I like that. Plus, Two Little Fishies is global. So wherever Two Little Fishies sell, the book sells. You understand? Yep. So I had a global audience as opposed to a national audience, right? So I said, okay, I'll go with the Two Little Fishies. Julian, what is the program that you use to create the book? And he said, I use this. So I went to my IT guy. Hey, I need you to get me this software. And he goes, okay, which volume? And I said, they're volumes? So I don't know. And Julian, which one? This. Okay, boom, went and got it. And it was a learning curve.
Yeah.
I never even opened that software before, and I'm going, oh my God, how do I use this? How does it work? And it took me 6 months to get it to the point where Julian, who was using it all the time, I showed him new tricks with it. So I had a lot of leeway with volume 1, a lot of leeway, but not 100%. Volume 2, I had a lot of leeway, most of the leeway, but when Julian said, hey, Tony, this doesn't look right, or this isn't going to work, I listened to him because he's the professional, and I let him make the modification and then show me. And then I say, no, let's try to move it this way. And sure enough, the two of us working together produced the book, but I did everything on the book, right? I did my part of editing as well. He did his part of editing. So we were able to, so with volume 3, I'm just about ready to get started and using the concept that I have. So I don't see volume 3 for another 2 years.
Okay. It's a lot of work, man. It's a lot of work.
I'm trying to run a YouTube channel. I'm trying to stay on content with all the social media, right? I'm trying to run a business. I'm trying to grow the business. I'm also working on projects, right? Because it's not just a coral farm project that I just inherited. It's also personal, private projects. A guy is building a beautiful mansion. He wants a reef tank in there. I'm there at the construction phase. I'm sitting down with architects. I'm sitting down with engineers, telling them exactly what we need to build this giant aquarium. Right now, we have a 6-meter long aquarium to build. This tank is 6 meters long, 2 meters deep, and 2.8 meters high. And we have to build a whole filtration room and everything else. And I have to sit with architects. I have to sit with engineers, explain to them what I want and how it needs to work. So I'm busy. And I haven't taken vacation in 3 years.
I want to address a question that John Wright is putting in the chat, and that is, does Tony help people on a small budget? And my response to John Wright was, Tony would help anyone. What are your thoughts, Tony, in terms of people that come in at different budget levels that need your help?
Listen, the reason I publicize the economical reef, and like I said, I'm about to do a video on the economical reef because that tank has really, it's a softy tank. However, it is the most minimal of operations. And I had a guy that I posted about the economical reef at the very beginning. And the guy, I don't understand why he was so nasty or aggressive towards the fact this is an expensive hobby. It should never be cheap. And I'm like, where did that come from? And why? Why can't someone that loves this stuff and is on a very small budget not be able to own a reef aquarium that is small? It excites them. It brings them into this. And who knows if their budget will change down the road and they could afford a bigger, beautiful, more. But just because it's small doesn't mean that it can't be beautiful. In the Coral Reef Aquarium, I have small tanks all the way to big tanks, right?
Yep.
In volume 1, I had a 5-gallon nano system all the way to Joe Aiullo's 20,000-gallon reef aquarium, right? In volume 2, I had a goldfish bowl that was a reef aquarium. So being economical is not a problem, and you can have success because there are many different LED lamps that work, that are small, that are functionable and work well for photosynthetic corals. So being economical, it doesn't matter to me. I get literally 20 to 30 emails, text messages, Messenger, through Instagram. I get them all the time. And some are as simple as, I have an algae problem. What can I do about it? What am I going to do? Tell that guy, oh, well, go on the internet. There's a whole bunch of reasons how. Or if you're reaching out to me, and I put myself in a position in this industry to be the guy that you can always rely on if you need me, I'm here for you. If I don't have the answer, I know someone that has the answer. Okay? I've been in the industry a long time, that I would help anyone that needs anything. Listen, I joke about the elitists in our industry, and I joke about them all the time because some of these guys have a chip on their shoulder. And I know they don't like me because I voice my opinion, because I'm on the internet a lot. Guess what? That's my problem. That's my cross to bear, not yours. So don't worry about it. Right? So I put myself in a position that anyone that reaches out to me has full advantage to ask me anything they want at any given time. And if it takes me a day or two to reply back to them, I will.
Luis asks,
because I believe that we are here, you too, Keith, you are here to help the masses that need the help. And that's why we put ourselves in the public view, to help everyone. I made the Coral Reef Aquarium, and I put it in the book that I am not Tony Vargas because I'm Tony. I'm Tony Vargas because the community has helped me be Tony Vargas.
And the community is a very...
I am here because of the community, not because of me.
And the community is a very important, point, is that we are a very tight-knit community, and that we should be, helping each other out, with good information.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Listen, look, I'm at this stage of the hobby where when I first started keeping animals, there was no information anywhere. They say, oh, put calcium in the calcium chloride in your tank. Well, I was putting calcium chloride in the tank, but did I know what was the effect of it? No, I learned in time. I learned in time what was the chemistry. I learned in time how to build a light. I learned in time how to build a stand. I learned in time how to do photography because my pictures from way back when were horrible. And Greg Scheimer used to tell me they're horrible. And I used to go, no, they're not. And I would cry, like, no. But it helped me focus, right? It helped me learn photography. Then it helped me write articles. My writing, my grammar is not perfect, so I put across what I do, and I get other people to help me with that. And I've learned through that. So I've learned how to correct my grammar. I've learned how to keep the chemistry. I've learned how to build lights. I've learned the electrical components of a reef aquarium. I learned carpentry, right? Because I built the stand, I built the hood. I learned photography. I learned scuba diving, right? I learned, now that I'm scuba diving, how to take pictures underwater, right? All these things from a little tiny hobby called the reefing.
It's amazing.
And all the knowledge that I have gained, I'm not afraid to share it with everyone. So that's why I do the book, because every time I go on a trip and I go see somebody's tank, I learn something new.
That's the beauty of the hobby.
Yeah,
You could be in it for so
I
many
learned
years, all the
something new.
years you've been in, and you're still learning.
No, and it's funny. I have a quick little story. I went to do a talk in the Netherlands, and the guy sends me a picture of the tank we're going to go see. And I'm like, oh my God, this tank is absolutely gorgeous. And my wife's first words out of her mouth was, that's photoshopped. And I said, you think? And she goes, that's photoshopped. And I said, I don't know. And we go to the Netherlands, and I run into this guy's living room. I wanted to be the first one. I knew the path, like they were saying, okay, well, let's go this way. And I was like rushing to get there because I wanted to see this tank. And I turned the corner and I see the tank, and my wife is coming. And I said, you got some apologizing to do. Because the tank was true to the picture.
Oh.
It was not Photoshopped. Now, this individual wound up in volume 2. This individual has no internet presence whatsoever. Zero. As a matter of fact, he communicated with me, guess what? By mail.
Not email,
Yeah.
regular mail.
No, by mail. So I had to decipher the letter.
That's
I took
awesome.
pictures of the letter and sent it to Tannen Hoff in the Netherlands so he could explain it to me. And then he explained it because when it's reef tank coral reefs from around the world, right? I give a 21 question form, and they fill it out. And he filled it out the best he could. And then he sent it to me, and I had to take pictures of it, send it to Tannen. Tannen explained it, and he was able to get on to volume 2. But his tank, no internet presence, no nothing. And this is the great part about our hobby. You can go somewhere and see something you've never seen before.
Yeah.
Because not everything is on Reef to Reef. Not everything is on Instagram, Facebook, now TikTok, now Threads. I mean, they just keep growing.
So a friend of yours, Greg Carroll, says Tony is one of the few old school reefers who genuinely wants to help. Proud to call my friend.
Oh, thank you, Greg.
And another comment. Luis Aceves, ReefBum, what I'm interested in is a master class on coral fish photography from Tony. And John Wright, the one who would ask the question about helping budget reefers, said, bless you, Tony, thanks.
Listen, share my Instagram, share my Facebook. Any question, look, like I tell my customers that walk in through the door, please, I am your reaping authority. What do you do for a living? I'm a dentist. I can't go into somebody's mouth and give them consultation about their mouth. You can. So I don't expect you to know everything that I know. That's number one. Number two, no question is stupid. Don't ever think that the question is stupid. Questions are not stupid, because if you don't know it, you're seeking knowledge. And if I can help you with that, I will. I'm not above anybody else. And I truly, from my heart, I want to give. It's all about me giving to my community back what they've given me. They've given me the opportunity to be Tony Vargas and to help people. And that's what I want to do. I want to help you. I want you to grow. I want you to be successful. I'm not going to be envious of your success, because your success is my success. And this is what I tell them. And so everyone that I build a tank for, you know what they say? Hey, Tony, this is your tank. So now I have a bigger responsibility because I'm building all these tanks and I'm responsible for them. So, you know, that comes to the other part of the business that never existed here in Qatar, which was the maintenance division. So I have 2 or 3 guys that I've trained thoroughly how to install the equipment, how to upload the equipment onto the apps, how to control that equipment on the apps, teach the customer how to use the app, all of this stuff. I've trained these guys. Now, do they catch everything? No, no. So when I go and I see something, I bring it to their attention. I show them how to keep an eye on it. And I teach them, look, when I was a teenager and I ever was going to do something stupid, the first thing I thought was, what would my mother say if I did this? So I teach my guys, look at things through my eyes. What would Tony say if he saw this? Would he fix it? Would he dissect it? What would he do? So I'm teaching them that route, so that way we could have the most amazing maintenance company in all of Qatar, because I want all my customers to be successful. And I don't want to be envious of them. I want to be proud of them, because their success is my success.
Well said, man. Just a funny comment by Greg here. Tony actually let me know that I had a reputation of not allowing anyone to see my tank. I have now worked on shedding that reputation. Tony, man, listen, I really appreciate you joining us and just foregoing the sleep for this evening to be a part of this live stream. It's what are we talking about? 4 o'clock in the morning here, approaching 4 o'clock in the morning for you.
According to my watch, it's 3:51.
3:51. So, Tony, you are a great advocate for the hobby, full of knowledge, and I think you know, for the folks out there that know Tony, I know we all appreciate you. For the folks out there that don't know Tony, get to know Tony. He's a good person to know in the hobby. You'll learn something, and I appreciate you, man. I really do.
Thank you. Okay, but before we go, I want to thank the community. Okay, they've given me something that I don't think a kid from the South Bronx would have ever had the opportunity. I grew up in the South Bronx, and there wasn't much thought about anything back then, in that area. I I would look at National Geographic. My mother got me a subscription when I was a little kid, and I would see these places. And in my heart, I would say, wow, I will never see anything but a picture of it.
Mm.
And the hobby, not me financially, the hobby has allowed me to see and do things that I never thought possible.
Yep.
And I thank the community for that, because at the end of the day, I get the phone call or the email or the message, hey, Tony, could you come talk at our club? And then all of a sudden, hey, Tony, could you come to England? Could you come to Italy? Could you come to the Netherlands? Could you come to Switzerland? Could you come to Germany? Could you come to China? Could you come to Australia? That poor kid from the
Pretty
Bronx
amazing.
never saw this coming. And it's all because of the community. The community got me there. And I am totally grateful for the rest of my life to my community. And I really appreciate them.
Well, you
And Keith, you're doing the same thing. What you're providing to the community is speechless. You provide something that has never been seen before, and we appreciate you for it.
Well, dude, I appreciate those kind words. I think I'm all about trying to have these organic conversations with people and trying to learn myself, and then hopefully people that are tagging along, that are watching, are learning as well. I think this is just something you talked about it before. It's like you're always learning, and even if you just pick up one new thing during a conversation like this, then I think that's something that's very beneficial. And that's the beauty of this hobby, man. It's just, there's just so much going on. There's just so many different ways to reef, and many different perspectives. So there's no right and wrong answers, but if you listen to enough of these conversations, some themes do start to develop that I think people should pay attention to. So.
Okay, that being said, what's the progress with the tank with the Haitian rock? What's going on with that? Look at that smile on your face.
I've been away. I just got back from a couple of days being away. I got a fly fishing trip in Montana next week, so I'm going to be away for another week. Then I got something. I'm going to be away in Rhode Island for another week in August. So I've got the rock in the tank. I'm afraid to put frags in there right now while I'm kind of traveling, because I don't want to be traveling, have the frag fall off the that seems to happen a lot with the snails knocking over frags and stuff like that. I should try some of that SeaTac to really firmly plant it into the rock, but I'm waiting when I'm back for a stretch of 2 or 3 weeks to plant a whole bunch of frags into that tank and let it take off. But the Peninsula tank, I planted frags in that a couple of months ago, man, and that's right back on its way. It's looking real good.
Oh,
It's looking real good. Psyched.
awesome.
Yeah.
So on the peninsula, you have halides or LED?
I got GHL Mitras, the LEDs. I got on both tanks. I've got the GHL Mitras. So
okay.
Yeah, I've got halides on a couple of frag tanks, but other than that, I've got 5 tanks, and 3 of the tanks are LEDs now. So I've kind of seen the light in that sense, in terms of like LEDs grow corals. I've had some of my best success with LEDs in that Peninsula tank.
But they do grow corals. There's no doubt about it. And I like them. They're very convenient. It's easy. But there is something about metal halides that I just hope that one day they figure out what it is and duplicate it with the LEDs, because LEDs, I don't think the final evolution of LEDs has occurred yet. I think we're still away.
I saw something in the chat. Chris Meckley mentioned something about Tulio at Reef Bright. It's going to have some news, so maybe there's some news on that front from Tulio about some new innovation with LEDs. I don't know. I'm guessing. I don't know.
Well, listen, there's a lot of lamps to choose from. And I keep trying them all. And listen, we'll just have fun, keep trying them all until we find one that says, this is
the one. This is the one. Everything else is obsolete. Dude, all right, Tony. Well, listen, man, 4 o'clock, you got to go to bed. You got to go to bed, man. But I really appreciate you taking the time and being on. How can people find you? Vargas Reef on Instagram, and how else?
Tony Vargas on Facebook, Vargas Reef on Instagram, YouTube. I'm really starting to put in content in there.
Vargas Reef.
So Vargas Reef on that. And then I'm also on TikTok, but it's more of a, just to post something in there, just to have a presence. Now there's Threads, but Facebook Messenger, you can reach me on there easily, or the Instagram DM section, you can reach me there as well. And to the guy about the economical reef, tell him to reach out to me. Whatever he needs, I will try to help him.
Cool. Awesome. All right, Tony, man. Okay. Thanks again, dude. And I also want to thank my sponsors one more time. Polar Reef. Make sure to check out Polar Reef's new YouTube video that drops this Friday in the new Polo podcast with the reefing godfather, Julian Sprung. They discuss the intricacies in keeping giant clams, live rock bacteria, and microbiomes, as well as a deeper look into some of Julian's products. Make sure to subscribe to their YouTube channel at Polar Reef for video drop notifications. Champion Lighting and Supply, besides being a place for hobbyists to purchase saltwater aquarium supplies online, Champion Lighting is also a wholesale distributor for many popular brands. If you own an aquarium store or an aquarium service company, contact Champion Lighting through their website at championlighting.com to set up a wholesale account. GHL. Personally, I'm all in the GHL products, using their dosers, Profilux controllers, meters lights, cage director, etc. They produce high-quality German engineered products. For more information or to purchase their stuff, you can visit aquariumcomputer.com/USA. I also sell their products on reefbum.com. Finally, there is going to be a great opportunity for another sponsor to get on board and support this show starting next month. So I do have some great sponsors we talked about. So if any other reef keeping businesses out there want to learn more about being a supporter of this show, then reach out to me. I want to thank Paul, who's also the moderator as well as the president of the Boston Reefer Society. I also want to thank Greg Carroll, another moderator I saw in the chat there. Please join and support your local reefing clubs. They are so important to this hobby. Also want to let you know that all episodes of Rappin With ReefBum are available as podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Amazon. I'm off next week, but my next Rappin With ReefBum live stream will be on Tuesday, July 23rd, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This will be a good one. My guest will be Claude Schumacher from Fauna Marine, and Mike Paletta will be discussing the Fauna Marine bolus method. You can check out the full upcoming schedule of guests on reefbum.com under the YouTube section. I just want to rattle off some of these guests. It's pretty freaking awesome here, Tony. I got coming up, so I mentioned Claude and Paletta. I got Andrew Sandler from Polo Reef, Vincent Chalias from, who's that coral farming pioneer. Then I got Julian Sprung, Charles Delbeek, Sanjay, and Mike Paletta all on the same show. It's going to be kind of like a big standoff there. We're going to be talking about some topics that they're not all going to be agreeing on. So I got some great guests coming up in the next few weeks. So folks, please keep tuning in. I appreciate all you that do that. So anyway, if you want to check out the full upcoming schedule, go to reefbum.com under the YouTube section. So until next time, be safe and be well.